Welcome to the Circle of M. I am your host, Marcus Smith II. We have another edition, another day today of being able to shoot this episode, be able to talk about mental health, life, physically, mentally, and emotionally. I am just so thankful and I have so much gratitude to be able to have a great guest on today. Have a great guest in Tori Franklin, who is a Olympian triple jumper who also went to Michigan State and is a very great person that I've had a chance to talk to. And I wanted to be able to just talk to her about her mental, how she continues to do what she does on the highest stage that you can go. And I just appreciate her coming. How you doing, Tori?
Hi, thank you for having me.
Man, so what we like to do on the show, we like to do a tap in segment. So I always do a tap in segment with all the guests. I always say, because that was actually one of the things that I did in therapy. We would always tap in with each other. We would sit around in a circle and we would go through and we would just ask, how is everybody doing? So I wanted to ask you the same thing. How are you doing and what's your mood like today? You know, being that you just got back from competing.
Today I am actually a little tired. I've been spending a lot of time with friends and family these last 2 days since I've gotten home. So I'm a little drained, but very grateful to be here and very happy to be speaking with you right now.
So you just got back from Greece, correct?
Yep.
So where
Yep.
were you before? Where were you before Greece? Because I understand that you were kind of like basically on a
Bouncing
tour,
around.
right?
I had a competition in Zurich. Um, that was the last competition I had. And before that, I was in Lausanne. And then before that, I was in Monaco.
What was going on for me when I was reading about you was that you were the first woman, well, first American woman to ever medal in the triple jump at the World Athletes Championships. Now, what was that feeling like? And I know before that, I think it was like 2019, 2020, and you placed like 13th maybe, or you placed like ninth, right? But then you overcame that and you went to the World Championship and you placed what you placed. Like, what was that feeling like, being able to overcome those mental barriers in that moment?
Yeah, so in 2021 at the Tokyo Olympics, I'm not even sure what I placed. It was terrible. It was one of the worst competitions I've had in my professional career. And I was really devastated. I lost a lot of confidence. I wasn't sure if I was going to continue to do the sport, but I had a really positive team around me that continued to uplift me. And ultimately, I just never stopped going to practice. So I never really quit. I just kept going. And in this process, I learned to build my confidence back and remember who I am to the at the core of me. And that's, I think, what really made a big turning point in my career in this last year.
Wow, man. And I think what you just said too is that I talk about this all the time. It's like the team that you have around you. When things aren't is going as planned or things doesn't seem to be going the way you want it to, it's important for you to have a team and you to have people that you can call on and actually be able to confide into, to talk to.
I think the most difficult part of it was right when the 2020 Tokyo Olympics was canceled, because in that prior year I had just moved to Paris, France. I had made this big life decision, this big life change, and then Corona happens and everything is halted. And so I'm wondering, like, what was all this for? Why did I make this move? This isn't where I'm supposed to be. And so it was pretty tough mentally.
So you had to move, or you decided to move, and then all of these things around you are happening. And so now you're being bombarded with different things that was unexpected. So in even in those moments of it being unexpected, you're trying to figure out like why did this move happen? What were some of the things that actually got you through that? Like, do you do therapy? Do you do meditation? Like, what helps you kind of get back to your inner self and helps you get through those meets when you don't have your coaches out there, when you're actually in your zone?
What got me through the quarantine times was meditation. Um, I meditated every day. I made sure to always get out into nature, grounding myself, getting walking barefoot and things like that. Also journaling, which helped me to kind of clear out my thoughts, organize my thoughts, and just stop any negative, fleeting thoughts that we all experience.
Yeah, I think that's shoot. For me, it's like I try to tell myself, man, it's important to speak what you want over your life. Speak nothing but positive things, because all sometimes we don't really understand the negative things that may come out our mouth or in our brains can really dictate, how our day goes.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, okay, well, if I speak positive, then positive will come out in the atmosphere and positive will happen in my life. Even when things aren't going the way, we may have, wanted them to.
Right.
So this was a real big deal for me because you compete in track, and this is the first time I've ever been able to talk to someone who competes in track on here. And I don't think everybody understands the mental health battles that you guys go through just in general, especially having to train and going to the Olympics, and just the mindset of you train for 4 years, or you train for how long you have to train just for one particular competition, So what's that like? Because I know people have asked the question, what is it like to be that type of athlete? And is it very stressful?
So I always say that like track and field isn't just a sport, it's a lifestyle. In order to be completely successful in it, it's it's not done when you get off the track. There's a lot, and I'm sure it's the same in football too. Like you have to take care of yourself. You're eating right. You're making sure you're sleeping right. Um, you're studying your craft, and so the fact that our biggest competition, yes, the Olympics comes every 4 years, but there are tons of other competitions that are just as big. For example, the World Championships that just happened in Eugene. It's all of the same athletes that are at the Olympics. It's the same, if not more or higher level of competition at the World Championships, which happens like every other year or every 3 years, depending. Things are different now after Corona, but so we do have other focuses, but it is a different type of like heart crushing when you don't make an Olympic team, because you know that you're not going to get another chance for 4 years, and who knows what life is going to throw at you in those 4 years. I've been lucky enough to go to 3 different Olympic trials and make it on my third one, and I'm excited that this next Olympics is coming a little sooner than it normally would.
So perseverance and getting through that that's something that I want the viewers to be able to see, because just because things happen and things may not go your way, you can still persevere and get the goals that you want. You can reach all the things that whatever you have set out for yourself, you can obtain, and sometimes with us, we want things right now, and God wants it the other way. He's like, well, I need to take you through some valleys. I need to take you through some of these things in order for you to be where you want to be.
Yeah.
So I always ask people, like, if you knew all the things that you would go through throughout your life, would you want God to tell you, like, okay, you're going to go through this, and that? Or would you still want to kind of like go as life goes and just build yourself throughout that way? Because I've had people say, man, I just wish you would just tell me. But
Yeah.
what would you do in that aspect if you had a choice?
Um, I like not knowing, I think. It makes, yeah, it makes it more exciting, more spontaneous. I'm an adventurous person, so if I had it like written out to me, or I'm like, okay, this is gonna happen soon, that means I've got about 2 years to just, mess around and do whatever I want, or something like that. I think it would maybe like make me less ambitious or less careful in a way.
Wow. So what got you in the track, and what got you into becoming, the woman that you are today? Like what has molded you into becoming the woman you are today?
So I think I've always been a competitive person. So even from a young age, I would want to race boys or play basketball and football. And I realized that I was faster than a lot of them. So I was like, when I get to sixth grade, I'm doing track and field because I think I'm super fast. Yeah, so as soon as I was able to join a team, I joined a team. And I just haven't stopped.
So Tori, what are you gonna do when you finish playing? Like, what's your plans?
I have a few plans. One of them is I would like to continue public speaking, getting out into schools, into businesses, and speaking on public or mental health and confidence. And I also would like to continue writing. I have my first book coming out this spring. And then lastly, I have a nonprofit that I am going to get started. And this is going to give inner city kids the opportunity to see another country, cultivate the land, and understand their own mental health journey.
With the Circle of M, we're on a mental health journey too, and this right now what we're doing is spreading awareness and trying to get athletes, people, entertainers, different perspective on mental health in general and what that looks like, and try to get healing for people who may not know what it looks like, or quite frankly know what the symptoms are. So we're trying to do the same things. I wanted to ask you too, because I know you talked a little bit about you do meditation. You, as far as like your confidence and you building women and men's confidence, do you feel like even throughout your playing experience, was there more than one time that your confidence was shot?
Definitely. My career has gone in, like, when you see those graphs of success, they say it's never like straight up. It has those ups and downs. I think my confidence has kind of been the same way, um, based on what was happening in my career at that period, whether that be an injury, whether that be being kicked out off of a team, or just not performing well in general. And so every time it takes a little bit more to get that confidence back, but when it does come back, it's stronger than it was before. And I think that's just a part of the journey of being a professional athlete.
So as a young girl, were there any mental health barriers that you had to cross growing up into getting into phase of womanhood, getting into the phase of you becoming the woman that you are today? Is there anything that you had to cross and overcome as a young girl?
Yes, when I was younger, I had, or even into my teenage age and in college, I had a lot of self-worth issues where I just didn't feel like I was lovable or that I was worthy of being loved and cared for. And so that was a very big part of my mental health journey and overcoming that.
Did you know that, or did you know that you was dealing with mental health at that point in time? Did you even know what it was called when you were, coming up? Did they even talk about it in the communities that you came from?
I don't know if it was like talked about. I think I started to recognize depression in high school. Whether maybe I learned about it in class at some point. And so yes, I was aware by high school what it was.
Wow. So I always ask the guests too, if you could go back, if you're talking to your younger self, what would you tell your younger self? Dealing with depression and trying to find your self-worth. What would you tell your younger self, knowing what you know now?
I would tell my younger self that none of what she went through was her fault. I would tell my younger self that she is protected and loved and safe, and that it's okay to ask for help.
I said that. I said that too at one
Yeah.
point. Like if I would tell my younger self, man, it's okay to ask for help, especially, being black and as men, as black women, you know, we have this, we feel like it's a strength, like, we just got to muscle through it and we just got to keep going. But, sometimes our strength is in our vulnerability. I don't
Yeah.
want to say sometimes, our strength is in our vulnerability where we can speak and we can actually tell someone, what's going on with us and to make sure that we're okay.
Yeah.
What about that kid that looks up to you who wants to do triple jump or who wants to become a public speaker? What would you tell them, about your journey and how to just navigate, their own life if they dealt with some of the same things that you dealt with growing up to now?
I would say first and foremost um, to try to begin their healing journey. I think when you are able to face yourself fully and face your shadows, then everything else in your life is able to have a lot more positive energy, and you're able to give more energy and love to it and to people, and you'll be more successful that way. And so to me, the root of pursuing anything is better self-knowledge. I think a lot of people are afraid to really dig deep and see who they really are because, either they don't like certain things about themselves, they're not ready to face certain things about themselves, or maybe they just don't know how or where to start. And that's a big challenge for people.
It definitely is. And it was a challenge for me personally because my identity was always with football.
Yeah.
Like it was always tied to football. And the reason my logo is with a half helmet, half face is because we don't know necessarily who we are under the helmet, right? We don't know. And sometimes we have dedicated our whole lives to this craft and become what we've become. And then, it's taken away from us or the time gets short and we spend time trying to find out who we really are after we're done playing, when before we could have been doing stuff, we could have had a team around us and we could have known who we are, so it wouldn't be as hard. But did you go through that, or do you go through that at all? As far as, track being tied to you, and you trying to figure out who you were. Did you go through that at all?
I will say yes, but I think in a different way. I was always very aware of how um, I was perceived as a track athlete and a track star. And so I always made a point to separate myself from track and field because I didn't want to identify with it. Um, so, for example, now when I meet people and they no idea who I am, I don't tell them I'm an athlete because I want them to know who I am as Tori first and foremost. Sometimes I'll tell them I'm a writer, you know. So I actively try not to identify with the sport because I know how fleeting the sport is and how the love of an athlete in track and field is. Like if you're doing well, everybody's behind you. If you're not, they forget about you. So I always knew that, and I made sure that that wasn't something that I held too tightly to.
I'm just now getting to that point because it cringes me when I walk in a Wawa. Do you know what Wawa is? It's like, you know, it's like a supermarket basically to get coffee. You can get all the stuff that you need pretty much.
Okay.
And you walk in there, and because I'm like bigger than everybody else, they're like, oh, you got to do something. And I've gotten to the point where now I just, I'm an advocate, mental health advocate, or I might say something like I work at Subway, or something like that,
Yeah.
because I don't always want football to be tied to me. That's not who I am. That's just something that I did. So
Yeah.
I definitely can see what you're saying, and I definitely struggled with that at a point in time in my life, and I'm getting to the point now where I think I'm getting better at it as well. So
Yeah.
no, I agree. I agree with that, man. This has been a great interview. This has been something that I definitely wanted to get your perspective on just mental health and life just in general. So
Yeah.
what's new for you? Because I know you talked a little bit about you gotta leave again. What are your goals? Like, what do you want to accomplish in this next coming up in this next year, 2 years?
Yep. So I leave back for Greece in a few weeks to begin fall conditioning, fall training. And the season will probably start around beginning of February, end of January. It'll be mostly just getting in shape because we have another world championship next summer, and I believe it's in Budapest. So that's the big thing, trying to go and get another medal there. And then just the year after is going to be the Olympics again. So we have a very busy 2, 3 years, and I'm just excited to get back in shape and keep getting better and bringing more medals for the USA.
Oh man. So how many medals do you have right now?
World medals, that was my first one this last summer.
So you got bronze, right?
Yes,
So you got bronze this last summer, but you were the first one to actually place in your.
event. Yeah, in American history.
That is, so you are down in history. Like, look at God, man. Come on now. Come
Yes.
on now. He uses, like, he always does stuff for our good regardless
Yeah.
of anything, man. So I am proud to be speaking to you right now because this is a huge moment, right? And
Yeah.
so, hey, I really appreciate you coming on to the show. This has been an amazing interview. I am praying that you do well in all your future endeavors, regardless of if you're competing, regardless of if you're speaking, because I know that you're going to be a light to this world. And that's all I'm trying to bring onto the Circle of M. I'm trying to bring so much light that people will listen. They will hear what you have to say. They will see your perspective. And there are girls and guys out there that are going to listen and go get the healing that they solely desire. So I really appreciate you for coming on.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This has been really great. I love hearing your story and having conversation with you. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity.
Thank you. Well, there you have it. This is the Circle of M. I'm your host, Marcus Smith. I just had a dope interview with Tori Franklin, and we are out.